Good morning, Teens Run. Happy Wednesday. Coach Kayla here for our lunch club today. Today I wanted to extend on what I had started to talk about last week a little bit with emotional intelligence. So this week I'm going to dive a little bit further into emotions. And so to start off today, I want us to do a quick activity. I want you to grab a piece of paper or something to write on and something to write with. And what we're going to do is for 1 minute, I just want you to think of as many emotions as you possibly can. So I'm going to set a timer for 1 minute, and we're going to do this together. So just any emotions that you can think of, starting now. All right, so that's our 1 minute. I want you to just take a look at the emotions that you had written down. Did anyone come up with 48 emotions? Anyone? I'm guessing, I certainly did not come up with 48, and I'm guessing a lot of you didn't either, but there are actually 48 recognized emotions in the emotional language that we have, but internationally, there are up to 128 different emotions, some of them that we don't have an English name for. So we have anywhere between 48 and 128 different emotions that people can express, which is a ton of emotions. And the thing about this is, I'm guessing that many of you, and I know I did, wrote down the first couple emotions that we wrote down. When I look at this, are what we would call primary emotions. They're what experts call primary emotions. And to explain a primary emotion, I want you to think of something important that has happened, and suddenly you feel an emotion. So it can be any event that's important, or it doesn't even have to be important, but suddenly you feel an emotion right after that. And it's really strong, and it's like the first reaction that you have to this event. It's almost like an instinct. And that emotion, whatever that may be, that is your primary emotion. So many people, it's the body's kind of first response to whatever has just happened. And it's usually really easy to identify. So like I said, the first couple ones on my list were the ones that many people believe to be these primary emotions. So mad, sad, fear, happiness. Those are kind of people. There are different thoughts about what the primary emotions are. Some people say there's like 4, some people say there's 8, but these are the ones that are usually in that category of primary emotions. And like I said, it's kind of the body's first response to what is happening to an event. Some people also consider emotions as the emotions of joy, love, and surprise as primary emotions as well, which I had a couple of those on my list too. Now, secondary emotions are basically all the other emotions that we feel, and they stem from those few core primary emotions. They're kind of like the emotions, the feelings that you have about the primary emotions. And another way to think about this is kind of like a color wheel, where you have the colors red and blue, and when you mix them together you get purple. So in that case, red and blue are your primary colors and purple is your secondary color. So in a similar way, when you mix two primary emotions together, you can get a secondary emotion. An example of this is surprise. So you don't suddenly just feel surprise for no reason. It might feel like you do, but in reality, the surprise is usually a mixture between something like fear and happiness. If you're suddenly surprised at a birthday party. It might be a little bit of fear at first, but also kind of mixed with happiness. Or surprise for something scary that has happened might be a mix between fear and sadness, or fear and madness. So, like I said, it's kind of like that color wheel, and mixing between several primary emotions can bring you to a secondary emotion. Now, you're probably wondering, okay, like, what's the point of me telling you all this? What's the importance of, why does it matter if an emotion is primary or secondary or tertiary or quaternary or whatever it might be? So, primary and secondary emotions, they tell a lot about your emotional stability and your integrity, your emotional integrity. When someone behaves in a certain way, the cause of that behavior is usually due to a primary emotion. Whereas, on the other hand, understanding secondary emotions can help us to understand how someone processes an event. So, to kind of explain this a little better, is an example that, let's say, unfortunately, your dog has just died, sadly. And usually the first way that a person would respond is with the primary emotion of sadness. That's kind of just your classic emotion that you would see in most people. However, some people might, after that sadness, begin to feel a little bit of loneliness because they lost their only friend. Loneliness would be the secondary emotion here. On the other hand, someone else might feel that sad primary emotion first, but then they start to feel guilty or even mad at themselves. Maybe they think for whatever reason it was their fault that their poor dog had died. So primary emotions are usually experienced between many people universally after an event, whereas the secondary emotions can differ between people to people. And that's why understanding the secondary emotions in people is really important to understand, to learn more about yourself and how you process a different event. Because, like I just mentioned, people can process events in different ways, and that usually shows in the types of secondary emotions that they display. Understanding your secondary emotions after an event, whether that be you got a bad grade on the test, or you lost a loved one, or someone called you a mean name, by noting and understanding and being able to self-reflect on those emotions that you're feeling after an event can help you to understand yourself better and how you process and react to different events. So, as you probably have come to understand, emotions are very vague and they're unique for every person. But I hope that you found this a little bit interesting and motivates you to kind of reflect a little bit more on the emotions that you're feeling before, after, during different events or situations. That's all I have for you today. I hope to see everyone at Run Club later today.